In the rolling hills of Gloucestershire, England, stands a building with a reputation so strange, so layered with centuries of whispered fear, that even the local clergy refuse to enter it. Not because it looks haunted, but because generations of people say it feels wrong from the moment you step inside. Visitors have claimed to see monks wandering through walls, spirits dragging themselves across attic floors, a black cat slipping through the shadows, and the anguished cry of children echoing where no children should be. This is the ancient Ram Inn, a 12th century former inn built on ancient pagan ground and widely considered one of the most haunted buildings in the United Kingdom. Tonight we step into the corridors of this place that's been called the most evil location its former exorcist had ever seen, and uncover the stories that make it one of the most chilling haunted locations in the world. This Looks Like Blood on the Balcony. Welcome back to Looks Like Blood on the Balcony. Again, thank you for coming, thank you for listening. I don't know what episode we're on now. We're like 8 or 9, something like that. We're back at Paranormal Week. Last week we did True Crime, Nicholas Prosper, another great episode. A lot of people didn't know that had happened. Really sad story. So if you've not listened to that one yet, get yourself on that one. This week we are back at Paranormal. We're going to be looking at one of my favourite paranormal places, and one that is talked about a lot in the paranormal community. In particular, YouTubers go here, Yvette Fielding's been there from Most Haunted, Ghost Adventures have been there, 2 of my favourite YouTubers, Sam and Colby, have been there. It's a really interesting place. I say I've been there, I have been there, but I've not been inside. We pulled up late one night, we pulled up outside. It is one of the most fascinating buildings that I've ever seen. Beautiful building, dates back to medieval times, a lot of history. So we're going to be looking at today the ancient Ram Inn. The ancient Ram Inn's in Gloucestershire in Wootton-under-Edge. I don't know if you've ever been there. Beautiful part of the country, really beautiful place. And it kind of sits below the road, so you can kind of see the windows, and it just looks haunted. It looks like a haunted building, and the energy that came off that building when we pulled up outside was insane. So if you've not been, you've not heard of it, buckle up, because it's an insane place. Have a look on YouTube, watch the Ghost Adventures. If you're into this kind of paranormal weird shit, then get on it, because it's a great place, and it's one place that I'm going ghost hunting this year. So you will have to have another podcast about this later in the year when I've been and I've done the ghost hunt, if I survived. So yeah, let's get into it. The ancient Ram Inn. So the ancient Ram Inn sits in Wootton-under-Edge, Gloucestershire, and it dates back to around 1145 AD, making it over 880 years old. That is one of the oldest buildings in England. I'm going to go out on a whim and say that. But yeah, when you look at the outside of the inn, it's the road, it's like sunken into the road. I can't really explain it. If you have a look at a picture, I'll put a picture on Instagram. The pavement is like almost up to the top windows. It's sunk down. It's got the old beams. It's how you would imagine like an ancient inn, exactly how you would imagine it. That is the Ram Inn. It's got the white and the black outside, the old windows. It's a really interesting place. It was built during the medieval period, and it's a grade 2 listed building, so it's a structure of like considerable importance, with centuries of changes layered into its walls, and you can tell that when you actually look at it. You would expect, I think back to like the medieval times, but then think of like a haunted building, and that is exactly what it looks like. Old, very English looking, very medieval looking. Like I say, I'll pop a picture on Instagram so you can see it. It's a really fascinating place. It's a lovely building, beautiful building. But long before it became an inn, the land itself was haunted by history. So according to legends and local lore, the Ram Inn was constructed on an ancient pagan burial ground, said to be over 5,000 years old. So before we've even built the inn, it was built on this burial ground that was 5,000 years old. You can't even imagine back to like 5,000 years ago, you know, the humans that would have been there and exactly how they lived. It's crazy. It's a crossroad of ley lines, which ley lines are believed to be channels of supernatural energy. So I'll put the ley lines on Instagram as well so you can see what I mean. It links to Stonehenge, so a site where rituals were held long before Christianity took over the area. Some researchers and storytellers even tied the ley lines that intersect near the inn, like I've just said, to Stonehenge. So like that suggests electromagnetic or spiritual pathway links through the ancient belief systems. So if you look at the ley lines, they run directly through the Ram Inn and they run directly through Stonehenge. So it's already sort of a bit weird, like steeped in history, and a little bit intriguing is probably a really good word for it. So before even the ram stood there, it was already got a lot of history on that piece of land. So whether you take that seriously or not, it's undeniable that the history of this land stretches way back before the inn was built, and some believe that the spirits this place holds now may be echoes of the ancient energies. So some people believe that the spirits that are there in the Ram Inn may not have necessarily have come from the inn. They may have come from the ghosts before that. So there was a man who lived in the Ram Inn. His name was John Humphreys. Very, very interesting man. If you watch the episode with Ghost Adventures, unfortunately he has passed away now, which is really sad because he was such a great character. I don't think he died too long ago, actually. I think it was either last year or it was within the last few years, put it that way. And his daughter now owns or runs the Ram Inn, Caroline. I've spoke to Caroline a couple of times via Instagram, and she's a lovely lady. She's very open about the Ram. She's very open about what goes on in the Ram. They sell ghost hunts, ghost tours. They even do like kids ghost tours and things like that. You can take your own equipment. You can do like I think it's 9 till 3 in the morning where they do a proper ghost hunt. You can go off by yourself into all the different rooms. It's a real attraction now, and she's running it really, really well. A lot of it inside remains sort of untouched. The floors are very uneven. You'll see from the pictures that I put on, but yeah, she's running it really well. And John was a really great guy, and you'll see on the episode of Ghost Adventures if you go and watch that. He's lovely. I do believe Sam and Colby met him as well, which is another YouTube video. Have a look on Sam and Colby. Yeah, really great guy. Quite short, leather jacket, old guy. He was born like 1968. Oh no, sorry, he wasn't born then. That's when he purchased the inn. So yeah, have a look at John. He was great guy. So the modern paranormal legend of the ancient Ram Inn is inseparable from John Humphreys. You can't have the Ram Inn without this guy. So in 1968, John purchased the inn after it closed as a pub, and he began living there. So it did operate as a pub for quite a while. According to accounts, his very first night in the inn set the tone for what would become a lifetime of terrifying stories. John claimed that on the first night, something unseen grabbed him, dragged him across the room on the floor, long before the inn became famous for ghost hunts or paranormal tours. So his very first night there, something was like, hey John, let's go. So over the next 5 decades of his life, John documented countless strange experiences. He actually sleeps. He doesn't sleep in any of the rooms. He didn't sleep in any of the rooms. He actually sleeps, you'll see, in one small area in the living room, well, his little living room in the Ram Inn. So I think that's really interesting to note as well. He didn't go upstairs. Another really interesting thing actually about the Ram is where I work on my day job. I spoke to a lady that actually lived in Wootton Under Edge, and I said to her, like, the Ram is one place that I want to go. Like, it's one place that I've always wanted to go. And she said when she was younger, her and her friends would go and stay. Like, John would let them stay in the Ram and like do their little ghosty tours, but like before it was open to the public. And she said it was one of the strangest experiences. Like, nothing like major happened, but because of the atmosphere and how it made you feel, it was yeah, pretty pretty bizarre, she said. And a few of their friends, one night they heard banging and there was like weird goings on, and they all sort of ran out in the middle of the night because they didn't want to stay anymore. So she said it was a weird place. She said that John was very eccentric, very lovely, but very eccentric. And I can't remember her name for the life of me, but she was a lovely, lovely woman. And she said, if you go, just go with like an open mind, because it's like how you feel in there is insane. And she was only young when she went. But yeah, she said it was really interesting to speak to somebody that very random on a call at work that had been there. So yeah, I just brought it up. I was just like, hey, by the way. And she just said, oh yeah, I used to stay there when I was a kid. So yeah, he also, so back to John then, so he documented countless strange experience being assaulted as what is described as a succubus. This demonic entity visited him repeatedly in the bishop's room. Now, I believe a succubus has something to do with sexual activity. I think they try and have sex or pin down people. I think that's what a succubus is. And he would repeatedly go to the same room, which was the bishop's room. There's different rooms. There's like a witch's room, a bishop's room. There's the part, I'll go into it, I'm getting ahead of myself. So he would hear screams and low growls in the middle of the night, and he would watch furniture move on its own, unexplained footsteps and whispers that had no source. So he would be on his own in the inn, and he'd be experiencing all of this weird and wonderful goings on. He believed that the inn was a site of devil worship and ritual sacrifice, and he uncovered evidence that supported those beliefs. So despite the family leaving the inn due to its frightening atmosphere, John stayed even till his death in 2017. Wow, 2007. I thought it was like last year he died, but yeah, time goes that fast. It was like 9 years ago that he passed away. But he's a lovely guy. Like, honestly, please watch the episode of Ghost Adventures, because it's entertaining to say the least. I've got my doubts about Ghost Adventures, but also I love it. So yeah, it's a ghost. I wonder with the big productions and things like that, because I know that Most Haunted came out a few years prior to it ending, that everybody was a fake and this, that and the other, and I think a lot of it is what you want to believe. I mean, a few weird things happen in this episode at the Ancient Ram Inn, and I think Yvette Fielding went there. I don't know if she went with Derek Okora, but Derek Okora was one. He's passed as well now, unfortunately, but he was a very weird guy as well. He had like a spirit guide called Sam, and he would be able to speak to spirits. And I actually went to see him in a show where he was doing do they call it clairvoyancy when they speak to the dead? I think they do, don't they? And he had Sam there, and there was a woman in the audience, and her children had died. They'd been gassed by their dad. A really sad story. I might cover that one actually one week. Not far from where I live, and he said he felt that he couldn't breathe and all of this, and he was bringing these spirits through, and the lady in the audience was like sobbing. She was like, that's my children, that's my children. And if that was real, that was insane. So the kind of thing in Ghost Adventures is it like you never can tell, can you? Because you've not actually been in that experience. So I think it's difficult to say. I wouldn't like to say she was staged and, you know, it wasn't their parent or anything like that. But with Ghost Adventures, I think because it's gone on for so long, there's got to be entertainment. And you very rarely watch an episode where they don't catch anything. So I think my suspicions are raised because of that. But in the Ancient Ram Inn, they bring in like, I think she sages the place and keeps them safe and all of that. But watch it, yeah, it's great. And John's in that episode. So yeah, that's an introduction to the Ram Inn. Bit of history there. So one of the most disturbing claims associated with the Ram Inn involves the discovery of human remains beneath the building. So in 1997, which is almost 30 years ago now, I thought it was like really recent, but yeah, here we go. In 1997, ghost hunters were allowed to excavate parts of the floor in search of an old cellar. What they found instead was the skeletal remains of a woman and a child, buried with shards of iron and some believe were remains of ritual daggers. So when you actually look at the pictures of the ancient man min, which I'll pop onto Insta, it would be a picture of the remains, and then there's like a fence around it, so you can't actually get into them, but you can see them. There's also, this has just randomly come into my head, apparently when you walk into the Ramin, there's like a crow hanging, and the crow follows you around the room. Like, it's dead, obviously, or stuffed or whatever, awful, but apparently this crow follows you around the room, and it points to the remains quite a lot. So that's another weird thing around that area in the inn. The Bristol Museum did conduct an analysis of the bones, and they concluded that it could be evidence of a sacrificial ritual. So that would obviously date back centuries. So what were they sacrificing people for, especially women and children, and then bury them in these grounds? So there are also local laws that say that numerous children's graves are under the floors, and they're often said to be victims of pagan practices. That was even before the inn was built. So, as I said, you know, these spirits are it's going to sound like zombies, but they're coming up from the ground and living inside the inn. These energies are. So, and I mean, a lot of people say to me, you know, why do ghosts only come out at night? Why do you believe in ghosts? Why do you think that they do this? Why do you think that they do that? I don't think there's enough evidence of them not being real, if that makes sense. And I'd love to think that there was something after we die. So that's why I believe in ghosts, and that's why I believe that these things are raising up and living inside the inn. Now, a lot of paranormal stuff is energy. It's not like the ghost of my dad running around. It's literally like an energy that's been stuck in a different time. So you might hear like footsteps walking across a roof or a building or a floor, and that is the energy of a person that's repeating the same thing, because their energy is stuck. Not necessarily the spirit of the person is stuck, but their energy is stuck doing something that they did every single day for maybe 10, 20 years, and they're doing it. Their energy is still there, still doing it. It's been caught in the inn. There's orbs as well. Like, I don't know if you've heard of orbs. Now, a lot of paranormal investigators don't believe in orbs, but they are balls of energy. I see balls of energy. I see orbs in my living room when I turn my Ring camera on. My Ring camera again. When I turn my Ring camera on. I think I should get like an endorsement with Ring. But yeah, before we go to bed, we turn on the Ring camera downstairs. And when we first go to bed, it's very like prominent, the dust particles moving around. And then you get these very bright ones that do look like little balls. And they kind of move with purpose and then disappear in random places, whereas the dust particles you can see fall and settle. The dust settles quite easily, but then the orbs are still moving around. So again, that's an energy that's present. So these energies, these things that are happening inside the Ramin, could all be the energy of these pagan rituals and these people that have been killed in these rituals. Don't know, but that's a theory. Almost every single room in the Ramin has its own legend, and the bishop's room, we'll go on to that one first of all, is said to be the most haunted room in the building. You can see on YouTube videos, people almost always capture something in the bishop's room, whether that be something moving, doors closing, screaming, anything like that. They always seem to catch something in the bishop's room. That's the one room that I really want to go in and see what happens. And the witch's room. But inside the bishop's room, there's been reported sudden drops in temperature. So normal, you're feeling okay, and then all of a sudden, boom, the temperature drops. That's supposed to happen when something paranormal's around. Oppressive dread, so feeling dread as soon as you enter the room. Disembodied voices and objects moving on their own. I can't remember whose video it was, but they were hearing screaming, the candles were moving, the bed sheets were moving, like loads of weird and wonderful things. The room was once investigated by a bishop of Gloucester, someone who attempted to exorcise the building, only later to describe it as the most evil place he had ever visited. Now, when you hear that, you kind of understand why poor John decided to sleep downstairs in the living room by the door so he could get out as soon as possible. That's what I would say. But yeah, they often see the misty figures, the orbs, feeling touched or pushed by unseen hands, and spikes in EMF readings with no explanation. So EMFs are electromagnetic fields. So if some energies are coming, some electric energies are present, these EMF readers will go up and down, up and down, up and down. If they're in the red, it's quite high. If it's in the green, there's none there. So that's the bishop's room is very active a lot of the time. I know that it's not just that Caroline who now owns the place. She does the daytime tours as well, and a lot of people have said that things don't just happen at night there. It's not just like you turn the lights off and it all goes quiet. It happens in the daytime as well, the banging, the movements. That's why she has the day tours, because a lot of people get stuff, they get energies and they get readings and things like that in the day as well, which is really interesting because a lot of places don't offer that. But then obviously you've got the 9 till 3 in the morning when there's also activity. I don't know how I'd feel about going ghost hunting in the day, to be honest. I don't know if it wouldn't be the right, not the right atmosphere, but the same atmosphere. I don't know, maybe I'd do the both. Maybe I'll go in the day one day and I'll go and do the night one and see which one gets more activity. That would be really interesting. So in the bishop's room, there's been like pulling of hair, pulled out of bed when it was an inn, just real weird things going on in there. So with the spikes in the EMF readings with no explanations, EMF readers are quite unreliable, I would say, because there's electricity in the walls. Excuse me. Electricity in the walls. Mobile phones give off EMF readings, so they can be sometimes a little bit untrustworthy. Is that the right word? Unreliable. But also you can get, if you've not got electronic equipment around and you've just got your EMF reader, then you know that's interesting if you're seeing those spikes without it. Candlesticks pushed over, candles pulled off, doors slamming as well in the bishop's room. That's all like eyewitness accounts. That's not like somebody making a story up. That's what people have actually reported happened to them when they're in the bishop's room. Then we move on to the witch's room. So the witch's room then is one of the smallest rooms in the Ramin. Yet it's described as one of the most oppressive. So the witch is apparently connected to a woman accused of witchcraft during the 1500s. According to local legends, she hid within the inn while being hunted, possibly using the room as a place of refuge before her capture and execution. So they say when you step inside the witch's room, the air changes. It doesn't sort of rush at you. It just presses you. So a lot of paranormal investigators have described pulling of hair, pulling of clothes, feeling like someone stood behind them, breathing on them, that kind of thing. And also, one of the most interesting things is the sensation of being watched, particularly from the corners of the room and from directly behind them. So if you think about somebody hiding within somewhere, they're likely to hide up the corners, they're likely to try and hide behind you, behind doors, and that's the kind of impression that the witch's room gets. Several investigators have said they can feel somebody standing inches behind them and they feel their breath, but when they turn around, no one is there. One paranormal team set up a camera in the witch's room. I'm sure many people have done it by now, but this one particular team set up the camera, left it unattended, and when they reviewed the footage later on, they noticed the camera repeatedly losing focus, unexplained knocking sounds, and at one point a low female whisper was captured on the audio, though no one was present in the room. I've heard a lot about the knocks in the witch's room and about equipment losing focus, losing power. A lot of paranormal investigations, cameras and lights and batteries out of things lose power, and that's said to be the spirits or the entities drawing the energy from your electrical equipment. So another visitor did experience sudden nausea and dizziness the moment that she entered the room, so the sensation that disappeared as soon as she stepped back out. So she stepped in this room, felt sick, went dizzy, went out and felt okay. That's bizarre. That's energy, isn't it, making you feel a certain way? That's what I think anyway. In this room as well, there's said to be a black cat. It's deeply connected to the spirit of this cat, and a mummified cat was discovered sealed inside a chimney wall, a medieval practice meant to ward off evil. Ironically, many do believe it may have done the opposite in this particular situation. So multiple people have reported seeing a black cat dart across the floor, feeling something brushing up against their legs like a cat, or hearing soft paw steps with no animals present. Now that to me is particularly disturbing because I see a black cat in my house. Now I've got a black cat. I think I've said this before. I have a black cat, but he is a little bit different than other black cats because he's got a stump. He got hit by a car and it sliced his tail off. So my little cat, bless him, he's called Zombie, which is bizarre because the story is he went out, he got hit, it sliced his tail off, and he come back in and he was chewing his own tail. It was horrible. It was awful. We rushed him to the vets and they just amputated his tail for him. So he's got a little stump, bless him. And the cat that we see a lot of the time in our house. Now you might think I'm mental, but we see it a lot. We see it in the window of the house. We see it in the kitchen table. We see it a lot just there, and then you'll see it run like from the corner of your eye. You'll see it jump off the table in the kitchen and go to the window, and you'll go and clear as day it's there, but then it disappears when you go near it. Can't get a picture of it, will not come up on a camera, won't be still enough for you to get a picture of it anyway, but we've tried. But we've got a black cat, so this exact thing is what happens to us in our house. We see it dart across the floor, we see it brush up, we feel it brush up against our legs, and it's so, I can't even describe it. It's so clearly a cat that, anyway, that's my house. And there's one at the Ram. Maybe it followed me that night. Hang on, no, it was happening before then. That would have been cool though. I've got the ancient Ramins cat in my house, but my cat's not bothered by it. So my cat's really lazy though. He just sleeps all the time and judges. So also in this room, people do describe that the emotional weight of the room. So several visitors have described an overwhelming sadness or fear in this room, which if you were a witch hiding, you would feel sad, you would be scared. Emotions that don't feel like their own. So are they taking on her emotions? One woman just started crying uncontrollably without knowing why. Later she felt as though the room was holding grief. So was this witch, who's supposed to be a witch, sad about something, upset, scared? I think I did read a thing about witches, and it was if you float, you're a witch. If you sink and you drown, you're not a witch. But either way, you would die anyway. So witches back then didn't stand a chance, did they? Let's be honest. If you were classed as a witch, then you would be you would die anyway if they caught you. So you can imagine trying to explain that you're not a witch would be particularly difficult back in the 1500s. And then if you've got like a lot of people that are out, you know, searching for you, you would feel scared, wouldn't you? You would be hiding in the corners. But then others have described a sharp sense of defiance, like the room carries the emotional imprint of somebody who refuses to submit. So she wasn't going to give herself up. She was like, hell no, this is not something that I'm going to, you know, I'm not handing myself over. I'm not a witch, or I am a witch and I have the right to be a witch kind of thing. I don't know what I'm banging on about now, but yeah, something lingers. It's aware, it's quiet, and it's watchful. So you feel very uncomfortable, very uneasy in that room. You feel like you're being watched. The next room is the attic. Now, this room has been described as a place that the floorboards still speak. If the witch's room feels watched, the attic feels occupied. So, interesting. It feels like there's someone in there. Bit weird. The attic space is tied to the inn's most tragic legend, the story of a young woman. She was believed to be the daughter of a former innkeeper, and she's said to have taken her own life by hanging. True or not, the attic has become one of the most active areas reported by paranormal activity. Interesting, because the bishop's room is the one that you feel the most energy in, I suppose. And then the witch's room is you feel oppressed and watched. And then this one is also reported to have a lot of activity. So you can kind of get the theme of this place. Every room has a story. Every room has some paranormal activity, if not loads. I would be very surprised and I would be very disappointed if I go to the Ram Inn and nothing happens. It will be the biggest disappointment of my life. That's like meeting like your biggest inspiration, your biggest celebrity inspiration, whatever, you know, the person that you love the most in celebrity world, and then them being the biggest letdown. That's what this would be like for me. So they say you should never meet your heroes, so maybe I shouldn't go, so that I can always just imagine what it's like. But anyway, the most common reports from the attic involve movement. So people say the room is filled with the sounds of footsteps, like pacing back and forward. Again, the energy, the residual energy. Dragging sounds as though something heavy is being pulled across the floor. Now that's terrifying. Imagine hearing, you know, you're just sitting in the attic, as you do, and you hear a dragging across the floor. Or then sudden thuds that shake the ceiling. So all of a sudden there's a massive bang and the whole room shakes. These sounds often occur late at night. No one is upstairs and they don't stop when someone goes up to check. So you hear the bang, you go up, and they don't stop. They carry on. They are consistently making these noises. Several guests have said to have gone up to investigate, only to find the attic's empty, yet the sound resumes once they leave. So they go up, they hear the banging, it stops a little bit, they go again, and it comes back. So it's weird. It's very weird. Visitors who often go in the attic also say that they feel tightness in the chest, like they can't breathe. So again, that would be the hanging, the difficulty breathing, sudden waves of fear or panic, and intense cold spots that don't match the rest of the building. Now you imagine hanging, well, don't imagine hanging because that's an awful thing to imagine, but you could imagine you're strangling yourself, the tightness in the chest, the difficulty breathing, the sudden waves of fear or panic. Like, you must get to a point where your fight or flight kicks in, right? You're hanging, you're trying to hang yourself, you're trying to kill yourself, bang, oh God, am I doing the right thing? Must hit at some point. There's intense cold spots that don't match the rest of the building, like the bishop's room. All of a sudden the temperature will drop. One investigator did claim that when he was standing alone in the attic, he felt a hand pressed down on the shoulder, pushing her forward slightly. And it was a touch described as firm and deliberate, not accidental. So it was as if somebody was behind them and they wanted them to know that they were there, which is terrifying. If I get touched, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I'm excited for it. Like, I want to be that scared. I don't think anyone's ever, like, been killed in a paranormal. I don't know. I'll have to look. I might be the first one that gets killed in the bishop's room. Oh, my God. Another guest reported feeling as though the air itself became heavy, making it hard to move, as if the room didn't want her there. So she couldn't get out of the room, or she couldn't get in the room, I'm not sure, but she was stopped in her tracks, basically. Shadow figures are frequently reported in the attic, tall, dark shapes seen on the edge of vision. Some witnesses have described a female standing near the beams, motionless before fading away. Oh, God, I really hope I see this kind of stuff. And one chilling account comes from a guest who said they saw what looked like feet dangling briefly in a dim light, only to blink and find that nothing was there. So, have they seen the hanging girl? That's crazy. Have they seen what they thought was feet? Have they seen her energy still there in the attic? Which to me is really sad. Like, imagine dying in... No, stop imagining death, Carly. Oh my God, what's wrong with you? Stop. Like, imagine, like, I can't think of another way to put it, but think about if you died somewhere, would you want to stay there? Is that sad? Is it sad that her energy's still in that room? Does she know that her energy's still in that room? Like, it's really weird, that is, isn't it? And then another group of visitors have claimed something even stranger. So they've claimed a distorted sense of time. So they've entered the attic believing only minutes had passed. So they've gone in, thought they were in there for 5 minutes, and they've come out and nearly an hour's gone by. No memory of what happened in between, just a feeling of confusion and unease. So you go in somewhere and you think you're in there for a couple of minutes, and you come out and you've been gone for an hour. That's crazy. That's like alien shit, isn't it? It would be quite terrifying to come out and people be like, wow, you've been in there ages. And you're like, well, actually, I've only been in there. Oh, shit, I've been in there an hour, but nothing really, like, what happened? Why have I forgot what's happened? Weird. Really, really weird. So what links the witch's room in the attic is the emotion in those rooms. They're not associated with chaos or violence. They're associated with isolation, persecution, grief and endurance. If the ramen holds memories, these rooms are where the emotions are the strongest and where they refuse to fade. So if you're looking for somewhere that makes you feel uneasy, somewhere that has got some real, crazy shit going on, it's definitely the ramen. There's another room, the men's kitchen, which is believed to have been built over a pagan burial ground, and it's supposed to be haunted by, check this out, unexplained babies' cries. Now, if nothing scares me more than anything, it's like disembodied noises of children, like screaming and babies crying and stuff. Like, that is insane. Like, imagine hearing a baby cry and there's no baby. That is so freaky. Babies are weird anyway. They make the weirdest noises anyway. So imagine being in like one of the most haunted buildings in Britain and then you're hearing a baby cry and there's no baby. That would be just... I think I'd be gone. I think that would make me be like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going. They also see white mist foaming on the staircases and sensations of something cold brushing past visitors. So it honestly, like, if I go to this place and there's none of this happening, I'm going to be mortified. I'm going to be absolutely gutted. I'm supposed to be going with someone else, so hopefully I can get him on the podcast when we've been, and if he can come on there and say what, oh God, and say, I've just bashed my leg, sorry, and see what his experience was as well. I think that would be really cool. So we'll try and get that done later on in the year, where we do the ramming, and then I get a guest on and we talk about it. I think that would be so cool. We also have been talking about going to a place called Cannock Chase, which I don't know if you listened to the episode of the children with the black eyes. Cannock Chase is meant to have a child that walks around with black eyes as well. So if we go there as well, I'm going completely off the ramming here, but if we go there as well, then obviously I'll do a podcast with him on that as well, because it's something that we're both like super interested in. So that'll be, we've got so many plans for the podcast. It's going to be great. And I'm hoping to take it to YouTube as well. So I'm going off on one anyway. So let's get back to the ramming. Over the years, the ancient ramming has drawn ghost hunters, paranormal teams, and a lot of people from across the world, across the globe. Like hundreds and hundreds of ghost hunters have been here. Hundreds of people have been there, not just ghost hunters. People go because they are intrigued by it. So it's a really interesting place, and I genuinely can't wait to go. So with it drawing in so many ghost hunters and paranormal teams from across the world, some have captured shadow figures in mirrors, unexplained orbs, EMF spikes with no source. Like I said earlier, you got to have that electricity to make it spike, and disembodied voices on recorders. I've heard a few of those, which are really interesting. I'm going to put some links in my Instagram this week, so I can link you to some YouTube videos that really are worth watching. And then a plumber once came, like a plumber, like, you don't get much more normal than a plumber. I hate the word normal. I was doing so well and I've used the word normal again. But a plumber once claimed to see a Roman centurion on horseback and a figure entering through the wall before disappearing. Imagine seeing that. And then visitors have also reported cold spots so intense they felt physical pressure, weird knocks and bangs, lights flickering for no reasons, and feeling of being watched all night. Some groups who stayed overnight claimed that in the middle of the night they had to leave because they were too frightened to continue. So John Humphreys, the guy that lived there before, like I said, he went to live downstairs because he couldn't physically stay in these rooms because he was so terrified of these succubus, incubus. I imagine like I just imagine being pinned down by something or feeling like you couldn't escape. John never left. He never ever left the inn. He lived alone for decades because his wife and children left. So he said, but his reason for not leaving was somebody needed to keep it under control. So he claimed every single day that something weird had happened. Now, I'll go back to the succubus because this is interesting. So one of the most disturbing claims that John ever made, and he's quite open about it when you see interviews and things like that. He doesn't shy away from this information. He basically says he was involved in repeated attacks of what was believed to be a succubus. So he described feeling pinned down on the bed, intense pressure on his chest, a presence sitting on him, and the sensation of being drained both physically and emotionally. A lot of people do, I'd say a lot of people, I've never met one, but some people do claim to like feel like they've had like sexual experiences with ghosts and stuff like that. And he said what he experienced wasn't sleep paralysis. He said he could move afterwards, but the encounters left him with physical exhaustion. So whether that is interpreted as paranormal or psychological, these accounts deeply unsettled him, and John never sensationalized about them. He spoke as though he was describing bad weather. So it wasn't as if he was going, this happened and oh my God, this was like... He doesn't, really give much emotion. Like, I don't know, it's hard. You need to watch them. I'll put a link below so you can see him being interviewed and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's a very interesting place. It's one of the places that has got so much, like there's so much going on, like the cat they found in the wall, the succubus, the incubus, the different rooms, the different spirits that are meant to be in the ancient Mammon are incredible, really. And with 880 years of history just in the inn, that's a lot, isn't it? It's I don't know, it's hard to describe it. It fills me with like wonder. It fills me with anticipation because I really want to go and experience this place for myself. I would have loved to have met John. I would have absolutely loved to have met John Humphreys. He seems like one of the most intriguing characters ever. Some believe that John's not left the Ramin. Some believe that they may have, he may still be there. Visitors and investigators have said that they hear a man speaking calmly in empty rooms. Footsteps do match the way John used to walk through the inn, and the sense of presence that feels protective rather than threatening. So is John still there? Is he still in the walls of the inn? Because he defended the place so what's the word, fiercely. He wanted to defend the inn so fiercely. Did he stay after death? That's an amazing conclusion to come to. Did he stay there after death? And is that why the inn is still protected? Because John's still around. He obviously loved the place. I think he used to shout at the ghosts as well, you know. Like, there was some weird stuff going on with him, but he seemed like a really lovely guy. He lived there longer than anyone else did. He experienced activity consistently, not sporadically. It was every day. And he never tried to turn the inn into a gimmick. He never tried to sell the tours. I think if you look at the Ancient Ram Inn website, it's not overly like, come and see this, come and see that. It's very humble in the way that it presents itself. Well, the way that Caroline presents it, should I say. It's just really interesting. It's an interesting place. I mean, for so many people to have experienced things in the Ram Inn, I think it would be very silly to say that there was nothing there. Because there's something. I think, personally, there's something. I don't know, maybe in 6 months' time or whatever, when I've been, I might be like, what a crock of shit. There's nothing there. But I think it's just interesting to visit because it's such an old building. And it looks beautiful from the outside, so I can imagine the inside. I wonder what it smells like. That was just ADHD thought, sorry. Yeah, really interesting place. So if you've not heard of the Ancient Ram Inn, go and have a look. I'll put some links on Instagram for you to have a look at, have a read through. If anyone's got any questions about the Ram Inn, I'll try and answer them. Follow them on Instagram, follow them wherever you can follow them, support them, because we want to keep the Ancient Ram Inn open. We want to keep its popularity up. We want to keep these investigations going there because it's such an important part of history, even if it's not paranormal. It's a massive part of English heritage. It's such a beautiful place, so try and keep the place going, keep Caroline doing her ghost hunts. Yeah, really great place. So thank you for listening to the Ancient Ram Inn. So that's it for the Ancient Ram Inn this week. It's an interesting place, as I said. So next week we leave the ancient stone walls of England and we look up at the night sky. We're going back to UFO abductions next week, which are popular. People like them. So we'll be exploring the case that started everything, really. Betty and Barney Hill abduction, a quiet drive home, missing time, medical examinations, and a story that would go on to define how we understand alien encounters forever. So that's where we're going next week. And then the week after, we're going back to true crime, keeping it real. So yeah, thanks again for listening. As always, if you've got anything that you want me to discuss, you've got any comments, anything at all, drop me a message or an email. bloodonthebalcony@gmail.com. Looks like Blood on the Balcony on Instagram. I've also got a TikTok now as well, Blood on the Balcony. So yeah, if you can follow me on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, Amazon, wherever you're listening, get me followed. A few people are listening and not following, which is fine. I'm not pointing at you, but get following. Yeah, just let's keep it going. Let's get a momentum going. And yeah, I'll see you all next week for the UFOs and Betty and Barney Hill. I'll drop some Instagram stuff on Instagram, some links and things that are worth looking at for the Ancient Ram Inn. And yeah, thanks again, and I'll see you next week.